Hello, viewers. Now, my name is Adam.
And I'm Aaron.
This Seeking Me Productions bring you a new movie review.
So we already went out and got to watch Evil Dead Rise.
Ah, yes. The Evil Dead franchise is still kicking. And it is one of horror's most prized franchises in cinema.
And it holds a special place in our heart because it's helmed, or at least it was created, by one of our home staples here in Michigan.
Mm-hmm. Sam Raimi this is the film that threw him from the map, and got him the career that he has in Hollywood now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all starting back with a little independent film called Within the Woods or something like that.
Yeah.
Which then spun off into its own independent film, The Evil Dead, and then
It goes down the rabbit hole from there. But the overall premise behind the series revolves around a book that is found by a group of individuals, and having those individuals read from said book creates all kinds of manner of horrible mischief, malice, and evil that is unleashed upon them, and him having to survive all the way up until they can actually survive and get out.
Yeah. And what began as just a cabin in the woods horror film, ever since Army of Darkness, the third film of the original trilogy, the series has widened its scope. After the original trilogy, it had its remake or requel of sorts in 2013 with Evil Dead. That was it says a requel because it takes place after the events of the first film, The Evil Dead. Then after the 2013 film, they made Starz distributed a television series called Ash vs. Evil Dead. Which is based on the timeline that started in Evil Dead 2.
And was also specifically really actually Army of Darkness. Then I guess it's a whole. It's a whole thing.
Originally was two major timelines going on simultaneously. Now, just like the weirdness of the timelines of the narrative of Evil Dead, the Evil Dead ever since has been bouncing off from different studios. But luckily, the thing is, what grounds the whole franchise together is its owner department, which is Renaissance Pictures. And Renaissance Pictures had many distributors from New Line, Universal, Sony Pictures, and now in this film, back to New Line Pictures through Warner Brothers Discovery.
The Evil Dead franchise in itself is a pretty gory fest. I mean, how could you not be when you have chainsaws, boomsticks, shotguns, and all kinds of matter of viscera being thrown at you? No, these particular films, especially in this one, wow.
Okay, so talk about this one particular, the story. So the departure in this one is that this, like we said, traditionally, I'll say, the Evil Dead is more like a cabin in the woods type film.
Yeah, no, this one kicks that out. The way we're in the city.
Yeah, Los Angeles is the location in the Evil Dead Rise.
How ironic! In the city of angels, we're dealing with demons.
Yeah, and it's but it's sort of the cabin woods for another type of claustrophobic setting, which is an apartment complex.
A dilapidated, grotesque apartment complex,
and what we get here, the story plot wise, that on their way, while the apartment's about to is kicking everybody out through a lot of eviction notices. You have this single mother who is raising 3 children. Who's on top of being this eviction, who's going through a divorce, and you have a bunch of kids. Her kids are all different, has their own whole sets of personalities and outcasts, outcast behaviors.
Yeah, I mean, we really sit around it. Ellie, that's the mother, who actually ends up, we find out, is a tattoo artist. Is not too far fetched to believe that her children would have went in their own equal but yet different avenues. Where you have her son, her son, a DJ slash in the music scene, the daughter,
who is all in for the social justice
justice warrior, all
that
aspects, and then you have the youngest, which is Cassie. Wow, Sweet little girl, but definitely got some weird kinks in there, kind of, doll heads.
And on the other side of the spectrum, her Ellie's sister slash the aunt of her children, Beth, who she is in the music scene in her own right. And it just say that what little story that we have as far as a history with the characters, let's just say that they all have some like very dysfunctional aspects to their lives. Mostly the fact that apparently they had like very dysfunctional parents, particularly a mother involved that wasn't necessarily as attentive as she should have, but not very much is actually dived up.
Yeah, you don't really get I think that's one aspect that you can't really can say against the film is that where it could have definitely delivered on some backstory, not even just with these particular characters, but with the other characters that are introduced. A little bit of explanation as to why we, as the audience, should care for them would have went a heck of a long way when the actual horror aspects of the story finally developed. Don't get me wrong, you do feel for a lot of the characters, but specifically with the family unit, you're all there with them, and there's a ride trying to experience this entire horror fest as they're going throughout this entire ordeal. But the other characters who are introduced end up getting mixed into this as well are not nearly as fleshed out and definitely not introduced in a way where we should actually have some kind of conscious feeling as to why they end up going through the things they do.
Evil Dead franchise has some of a timeline confusion as a result. It is kind of it's not necessarily clarified on whether or not this is his own film and his own film and his own continuity in itself, or is it a follow-up to another installment from the two previous timelines that were from the previous installments.
And I feel so probably one of the major things that probably helps or at least or hinders that particular concept is the actual centerpiece of the story, which is the book that is being used to summon all this craziness and mayhem into it, the Book of the Dead. You just know that it is part of a set of three, in a volume of set of three, that is in this universe, which means technically, in a lot of ways, maybe those other films, or at least the film that came before it, the 2013 one, could be in that same continuity, but at the same time, because it doesn't really reference that, you don't really know.
So, from what it does have, as far as any type of connective tissue, what Evil Dead is known, as we all know, there are a lot of callbacks to a lot of the visual context to it, and the mere fact that some of the core elements, as in the book, Deadites, and basically the very sharp kinetic energy that balances out the tone, the really dreadful tone that the film does. That, despite the fact that one of the major criticisms for the 2013 film has that it was, despite the fact that that one pushed the boundaries of its score and mayhem, it feels kind of hollow in a lot of regards. This one, thankfully, has a lot of characters, has a lot of personality.
A lot of the core characters have a lot more personality, a lot more intrigue to them, and that makes you actually want to feel for what these characters go through.
For case in point, one of the basically the main selling character in this film, Ellie, played by Alyssa Sutherland. She is essentially single-handedly kind of makes this film unique in its own right because of her performance as this newly possessed being of
her
pure
physical
chaos.
performance, her actual dialogue delivery, everything about this actress in this film works.
Yes, it's like she's on a lot of everybody. Basically, the core cast are from Australia. They did some work with a lot of television. If this film from all the core players, if they don't necessarily have a career from then, they should definitely have a catapulted career now because of, especially with Alyssa Sutherland's breakthrough performance.
I mean, considering that she's coming from where I remember her from is when she was actually starred on the show Vikings.
The actress plays her sister and basically the main hero of the story, played by Lily Sutherland. Beth, she at first, like, her role is like muted To the point that she's very much more like the background character. Like it's almost like a bait and switch almost because like how the movie was playing out. It almost feels like one of the kids, particularly the middle child, was probably going to be the main person that we will focus on. But later down the line, we do notice that Beth is taking center stage as the protagonist to her sister's antagonist.
Yeah, and you know what? Let's just go ahead and say right off the bat, this is a horror movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you really look at it, in order for certain things to go down, stupid and really
you have your stupid characters.
Yeah, you have stupid characters and really ignorant, choices are developed. Yeah, you get that here.
Person that basically catapults the plot into total mayhem is the character of Danny, played by Morgan Davis.
If Bridget did her dang due diligence, I don't know. Again, let's leave it as it is. Talking about the production value of this in this particular film,
I am so glad that this one of the smartest decisions among a lot of the chaotic decisions being made at Warner Brothers Discovery as of late, and this at least during the time of this video, was that whether or not what film was going to be made for theater release or
which was going to be like streaming. Originally this was going to be a streaming movie. Having gone out and actually watched it at the theaters, there is no way in hell you was going to throw that on streaming and expect everybody to enjoy that that beautiful fest of gore and deliciousness. No, this is a film you needed to watch in theaters.
I like the fact that one of the things that you cannot tell what the budget is.
No!
Like, we're looking at researching for this review. This is well under $20 million that's reported.
You would not know. You would think that they just threw everything in the kitchen sink into this film to try and make it look as good as it does. It looks amazing.
Yeah, the film has this great 90s punk grunge aesthetic with the very darkly but yet very textured type feel to this apartment complex that dilapidated. They really utilized
the apartment
space
just as much as the characters themselves was a character. Yeah. They effectively use everything you are given in each scene to the limits that they could actually use it.
Yes, and the thing that goes on in this film, I really hope that the child actors in particular have much support going on because they
asked for them to do a lot, and they deliver. Told everybody delivers it.
One child actor particular that we like to highlight, and the part of the danger aspects into this film is the younger
Cassie's character.
Cassie character played by a young introducing Nell Fisher. Her performance is very akin to past 80s horror films that we like the young Drew Barrymore or the girl from the Poltergeist film. It's very akin to that performance, but even more of a slight edge to it because the mere fact that how much they put them through.
You are never going to be okay. Even if you survive all the horrific, traumatic experiences you went through, especially with these kids and everybody else went through, there's no amount of therapy will ever make this okay.
Yes, and because of how briskly paced this film is, you don't aside from the fact that there are some obvious narrative elements that should have been highlighted to help to build up the thematic themes, the director Lee Cronin, this is his second feature film, was able to give this a very tight and concise direction. Now normally Sam Raimi, this is the film franchise that catapulted his career. He's able to utilize the elements, filmmaking elements from that that are unique to the Evil Dead franchise in very creative ways, from the very kinetic camera work, the very characteristic editing choices. The title card alone.
Oh my god! When you first see the title card,
basically sets the tone for the whole film, and is basically that same energy from start to finish.
Exactly. This is a film that grips you tight, doesn't let go, and thrashes you about each and every little way it can until the very last second.
And that is why Well, we are pleased to say that Evil Dead Rise is a great film.
Exactly. What could have made it amazing again if they actually had enough, and they did have enough time considering the time length of this film to flesh out some of the characters, other than just the family members, or at least a little bit deeper into the family elements, a little bit themselves, or a little bit more into the mythology that surrounds the book and and all the evilness that was going to go around them as well. Could have gone a long way to expressing the the storyline and the world itself a little bit better. But given as it is, with everything we're delivered, yeah, it's great, and it's definitely a worthwhile watch. And you need to go out there and watch it as soon as possible.
So yeah, that was our review for Evil Dead Rise.
Please, as always, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell down there for notifications if you want more of this and content coming towards you.
Please look at our social media outlets, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for the content we don't necessarily put on this channel. But then again, stay tuned for other great content.
Well, that's it. See you later.